Hey, I'm Corey.
And I'm Kyra.
And welcome to Above the Bar, where every week we are having conversations and libations with what?
A legal twist, of course. I mean, what better combination? Above the bar, hello, legal conversations and amazing cocktails, which this week, Corey has concocted something that looks rather delicious. Corey, what did you make us for this?
So I love summertime. If you know anything about me, you know two things. I love summertime and I love Rio. So if you like both of those things, there's no way that you don't like the national drink of Brazil, a Caipirinha. A Caipirinha. So it is a very simple drink because summertime, you're hot, you want to be refreshed, but you want to keep it simple. You don't want to be in there with all these ingredients trying to mix it up. So this is one of the most simple drinks, but what I love even more about it is how easy it is to put your own twist on it. When I was in Rio, I had these every day, all day. And I went to a cooking class where we also learned how to put a little twist on it. So you can add whatever fresh fruit you want to give it a little different twist. So you might try passion fruit, something very exotic, or you could keep it simple. Today I put a simple twist on it and did a strawberry add to it, but add what you want. It is traditionally just made with lime, a little raw sugar in the raw, because you want that cane sugar flavor, and cachaca, which is like a rum. It comes out of Brazil, and they go together like peanut butter and jelly. So you could keep it simple and just do a 3-ingredient caipirinha, or you can make it a little fancy. Do it your way, but all you have to do is muddle it up, shake it down, and get to drinking. So it is a simple drink. Don't be dissuaded though, because it's pretty strong. Pretty much all there is in there is lime juice and cachaca.
Okay, so if the conversation gets lively, this week you blame her. Let's see.
Cachaca tastes so good.
Now you said this is called cachaca?
This is called cachaca.
Where can you find that, like at your local?
Yeah, go in the rum out and you'll be able to find cachaca. And this one is LeBlanc, which is like what they drink all the time in Rio, but it's also my favorite kind of cachaca.
Okay, cool beans. So hey guys, if you like this cocktail, be sure to like, share, subscribe. The ingredients will be down below. And if you try it, let us know. The caipirinha that Corey has whipped up. See, look, maybe it's already kicking.
No, don't blame me necessarily.
It's a little bit strong, but it is rather good. Let's cheers to another episode of Above the Bar. And you know, we like to always bring up the past when it's relevant. And apparently Soho Karen is back in the news. Not that she did anything new, but she has some pretty hefty legal charges. And if you don't know who Soho Karen is, she is Maya Poncetta. I don't know if I'm Poncetto, something like that. Just Soho Karen. And she was the young lady, 22 years old, out of California in New York, and she harassed and attacked a young man and his father, alleging that he has stolen her cell phone, which turned out to be false. And so she's facing legal charges from hate crime to false imprisonment, aggravated assault, and I believe there's one more, but her legal charges have ramped up. Of course, she's pleading not guilty. She does have a new attorney though, Corey.
You know, if you haven't seen, we talked about her before, and you know, she was on the news before, and right after the news, she went on her own little press tour, and it seemed to be like, as an attorney was saying, like, no, don't do this, and she was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm saying what I want to say. And I would say it seemed ill-advised, but I don't think she was taking anybody's advice on it. She was just kind of like shooting out at the hip, like, how could I be racist? I'm
so sweet and innocent.
And however she targeted this one person in a hotel full of people to demand to see them turn over their phone and then try to attack them because you know what was clear previously? She was unstable. So as an attorney, it's very hard to manage that case. So who knows what the motivation is for her getting a new attorney. But I think it was, I don't even know, I think she was, interestingly,
but, you know,
I think she's a little touched, as the older people might say. I think she's a little touched. And her video, if it wasn't erratic enough in what we saw in the real interaction, her after statement was like, oh, I'm doubling down on that. And it was like, oh no.
Because even in her interview with Gayle King, Gayle even mentioned like, hey, you don't have any remorse or anything. If anything, you're further trying to justify your actions versus trying to offer any kind of apology, which does not look good in the public eye, or just in general, like, yo, you were wrong, own up to it and try to, you know, apologize and correct your wrong. Instead, like you said, she buckled down, and now not only is she facing criminal charges, but the family is also suing her civilly under Ben Crump. And her and the hotel actually for racial profiling. So.
Well, the hotel did kind of comply with it in whatever way they were. They were like, yeah, just, you know, show the phone, should be quiet. No, I don't have to do that. And it wasn't until I think they went and ran back the video where they were like, oh, okay, well, you don't have to do that.
Exactly.
So, you know, you can't choose one side to try to defend or further someone's cause because it's not really your job in that sense to investigate.
Exactly. And talking about investigations and what the video showed, what it versus what it didn't show. So, Edward Cagney, out of Philadelphia. If you haven't seen the video, it's quite interesting to say the least, where he is assaulting he's harassing one of his neighbors with racial slurs.
Yes.
To the utmost degree, just being completely outrageous, attacking him on the man's property in front of the door of his home.
In front of the police.
Yeah. Lord have mercy. So initially, I believe that he was arrested, but he was let go. And then apparently he's been doing this for like the last 10 years. And
to this neighbor or to all the neighbors?
To all the neighbors in the area. So other neighbors came forward with more video footage. And that's what led to the arrest. Because he has done everything from smear dog feces on the neighbors' cars or homes, shot out windows with BB guns, verbally harassed other neighbors, yelling out racial slurs. Like, he's just been on some rampage. And I think that's why the protests of people who were like, yo, so y'all, he put his address out there and said, pull up. They said, yo, that, we there.
No. You should put up the person you hate the most address, perhaps, but not your own.
What?
Certainly, he was out of pocket. The whole thing was him perpetuating out of pocket. So at least it's comforting to know it was not a one-time incident, because I did see his apology where he was like, I don't know why I said that. Why would my mouth say that? Oh, I was just angry, or I got out of control in the moment. And certainly, I think almost everybody has said something inappropriate in a moment, but we know that this is his habit and that he must have something internal. So that makes it a much easier, like, this is racially motivated kind of position, because we see him doing it to other neighbors, and like apparently he had a history in the neighborhood, which makes me think also the reason those protests were that way was because other people have called the cops on him, or
they set up.
And then so now the video, you want a reaction, but it's like, dang, is that what it took? I am a lawful citizen in this neighborhood as well. I call and say he did something and nothing happens, or he gets out, and then finally it's on video and it went viral, and now you come pick him up. He been crazy.
There was one lady, she was a single mother and she had a younger son, and she was pretty much saying that she and her son live in fear because of the harassment of this man. And I can't even imagine being in your home and feeling completely uncomfortable inside of your home because this man is shooting out your windows with BB guns or doing all kind of outlandish things. And you bring up the police because in the video it was interesting. I saw one where he was telling this young lady, like, you can call the police, but you know who those are my people, and you can call them, but nothing's going to happen. So that shows me that the reason why it escalated more and more and more is because he had been getting off, and so he felt like, I'm comfortable in doing this because I haven't got any punishment yet.
He was like, so record this, see me,
pull up on me, pull up.
Yeah,
and they did.
They did. So it's a very interesting video to see, because I was actually surprised that it got a little bit out of hand.
Yeah,
and I was surprised that more didn't happen. Like, the police didn't have a more kind of response, because they were just trying to walk him to the car, and they were throwing everything at him. They were throwing the kitchen sink at him, but he was escorted by the police.
Right.
So
I think 2 arrests were made because eventually somebody threw mace into the crowd. But they did say a lot of the community members were trying to get those who were like throwing things to calm down. And hey, if you ever participate in a protest, stay focused on what the end goal is. And the minute like you kind of get outlandish with it, like everyone around will suffer the repercussions from that. So I'm all for protesting, but do it the right way.
It depends. Sometimes I think you gotta go a little, you have to elevate things, and I'm not encouraging you to, but I certainly think that sometimes that is what gets a reaction. So how to be smart about doing it, correct, whole, another something, correct. And we've seen, talking about things that people are angry about and people are protesting about. We've seen a lot going on in the world of the Olympics. Lots of protests, lots of people pretty grumpy. Tell us more about that.
So we have kind of 3 highlights with the Olympics. You have I want to say her name correctly, Sha Carri, and her ban with regards to the Olympics and not being able to run in the Tokyo Games. And okay, I understand.
Wait, let's tell them in case y'all have been under a rock. In case you didn't know, she was a standout, breakout star after she ran the 100 meters, which is one of the most heavily watched, hotly contested track and field events. And she won strong and proud. I think everybody was rallying around our chances to win the 100, and we know the Swiss Jamaicans usually get away with that one. So everybody was surprised by her kind of natural star quality. And then right after that, first it said that she failed her drug test. I was worried that it was something else, but we find out that it was marijuana. And we know that other Olympians have had problems with marijuana, but certainly most people who have heard of it or do smoke marijuana are saying that don't enhance anything. It might get my mind a little bit better, but it does not enhance a performance. In fact, my lungs a little bit. So we saw that she would, because of her trace amounts of marijuana that she did test positive for, her race would be thrown out. So she was not qualified to run the 100-meter dash.
And there have been comparisons to other athletes, and so I just want to highlight that there are 3 kind of breaking points of why a drug is on the ban list. Whether it is detrimental to the spirit of the sport, it is a performance enhancer, or it impacts the health of the athlete. And so they have over the years definitely limited the amount of marijuana that has to be in the person's system so that it is only amount that's traceable immediately before, whatever the time period is. I think it's low enough where if you've had it 3 months prior, then it wouldn't be a problem. But she had admitted to having it recently because of the passing of her mother. And so the issue with people were thinking she'll be able to perform in the 4x1 relay. Like Corey said, the problem with her having failed that drug test, it completely scratched her performance off the record.
Well, no. Because she only got a 30-day suspension, I think that's what everybody was waiting for, hoping that they would choose her for the 4x1 because it's a choice. So her previous performance would have qualified her if she was chosen, but they didn't choose her.
So what I read was that you have to perform at that Olympic trials. And so if you don't have a record at that trial, then they can't go back. I mean, they could have done some wrangling, and other athletes could have tried to provide support for that. But my understanding was that she had to have a qualifying time at that Olympic trial, qualification trial. And if she didn't, then that was why she didn't. But you know what? Maybe we'll do some more researching.
Yeah. Here's how I feel about it. Unfortunately, it's probably unpopular opinion. Do I think that the fact that that's a rule is unfair? Perhaps. The fact that it is a rule, she knew the rule and she broke the rule, is kind of the situation of life. We all have things like, why is that a rule? That doesn't make sense. That's silly. I shouldn't have to, what sense does it make? For all practical purposes, it may not make sense. Statutory rape. If your boyfriend is 18 and you're 17 and a half, should that be called rape? Doesn't make much sense. But is that the rule?
The rule.
Yes. And, we just have to understand the rules, especially at that level of performance. People are watching, people are testing. And it may be like you say, I've done this before and I took this one thing and I didn't test positive, so I'll be cool. But the rules, and everybody is under the same rules. So if they unfairly, if everybody had the same trace amounts or other athletes had the same trace amounts and they just chose you and said you're eliminated, but they can run That's not fair. Right. But when everybody knows the rules, unfortunately, yeah, we should examine that rule and see if we really think it's fair. But this is a world organization, not a national organization. The U.S. may have certain feelings about, you know, the permissive use of marijuana, but internationally, I'ma tell you firsthand, nah, bruh. Nah. Don't take your weed other places and say, it's just a little weed. No. Don't you do that. Okay.
Don't do it.
I'm telling you the truth. So, there's that.
I agree. And I agree with that because, I mean, I kind of make the comparison to, for example, I have a good friend who is a flight attendant and she cannot smoke marijuana. And if she does, she, you know, takes the chance of losing her job. So should we say, well, that's not fair and she should, you know, be able to keep her job? Hey, if you go up for something that you know the rules for, then you have to abide by them. Like I say, do we maybe need to reevaluate them? In some degree, yes, I do appreciate that they have lowered the threshold to making it closer to the time frame of competing. But then, you know, it's up for those who are actively in that sport to say, okay, do we need to even break it down even further?
Yeah.
So I do not agree with the kind of statements going around saying that we should protest the entire Olympics because of this misfortune with Sha Carri, because there are many other Black athletes or many other amazing athletes in general that are representing our country that I think deserve our support, you know, wholeheartedly. One of them who has kind of taken a twist on how she kind of shows her advocacy as, you know, an athlete in support of those who have been mistreated in the U.S. is Gwen Berry. And she was she won third place in the shot put. And when she was on the podium, she turned and has a t-shirt on her head that said activist athlete or something to that effect. And she did not, as many say, honor the flag or whatnot. So many Republicans have called that she be disqualified and saying that if you don't want to stand for our country, then you should not represent it on the world stage of the Olympics. So,
well, this is where that gets played against you, right? So we want Miss Richardson, she didn't follow the rules. I want to say, okay, she didn't follow the rules. If that's not in the rules, if it doesn't say I have to do that, then I don't have to do it. And you being an American, they treat it, yes, you may feel like it's a right, but in reality, it is based off of, American law is based off of you were born here.
Right.
So that is your birthright, not a right you have to turn around and act like, or turn a blind eye to what many feel, including myself, I would say, is some travesties in our history that are not properly recognized. So, I mean, I think we saw it in Caipirinha, people trying to voice and draw attention to something that is very passionate about them. You certainly could love parts of one thing and hate parts of the other thing, and it doesn't change your respect or your wanting to represent another country. How you gonna represent some other country? Is where we're born, right? So it's kind of like where you have to represent, unless you were born with dual citizenship or, you know, something like that. But people, the expectation, especially Republicans, like, oh, you're supposed to be so reverent to it. Where is the reverence in return? Most relationships like that are based off mutual respect.
Exactly. And that's what she was saying. And she said, you know, I'm here to represent my country, but I'm also standing for those who have lost their lives because of the injustices in our country that many are turning a blind eye to. And then you have athletes within the track and field organization like Tommy Smith and John Carlos, who I don't know if many of you have seen, but the infamous picture with them holding up their fist on the podium at the Olympics, and that was their reverence to Black people and the crimes that have been committed against us. And even today, for example, with regards to swimming, the swim cap that has been banned because the illusion that it doesn't fit the natural head and that elite swimmers don't need a cap like this, so that they've banned it. Well, I'm sorry. There are Black swimmers out here, and there's one actually competing this year in the Tokyo Games, and she has natural hair. And guess what? This swim cap would do her justice. But because you presume that most, or you really want to say all, elite athletes don't really need a cap like that, then you've banned it across the board, which I think is not a good move for swim, especially because they've been trying to push diversity within swimming and inclusion within swimming, and this does not do that.
I think it's it's just so silly because what are you saying? It enhances my performance. Like, I got a whole bunch of hair on my head, and I'm trying to put it in a cap that makes sense. And you telling me that elite, like, what kind of elitism is this? What if I just had a big giant head? I don't know. You know, I'm just saying it would be more sensitive if that was the reality. But these are not artificial a semblance of something. This may be the hair that grows out of my head, and to say I can't naturally swim with that. It'd be different if I tried to show up with these braids and said I want to swim with these braids. Give me a cap that's 8 more inches. But if it is the hair growing from my head, and we've seen this in many problems or many dreadlock bands or bands on natural hair for Black women, that hey, if you can do things the way your hair naturally grows, I should equally be allowed to have an expression or wear my hair in styles in which my hair naturally grows. Essentially, you're saying to someone, if they did have very thick or long hair that did not fit into a cap, that they would be forced to cut their hair in order to compete. And hey, what makes me competitive is my time. So if I got a big old head of hair and a big old afro style swim cap, but I'm beating your time, well, boom, maybe you should grow an afro and try to be like me. So, I mean, I think it's silly, but I think we often see this when the minorities kind of controlling the rules for the majority.
And I don't know if y'all have ever tried, but as a natural woman, as one who has natural hair under this wig, when I try to put it in the swim cap, I done pop myself so many times. The thing, it does not work. It is not made for our type of hair. So kudos to, I think it's called Soho Cap or something like that, who finally came up with a cap for African American women's natural hair, or anyone with natural hair that needs more space. But for, them to say that it's banned just because it doesn't fit the natural shape of a head, and elite swimmers don't need a cap of that, magnitude, is utterly ridiculous. And they're saying that they're going to, re-examine the decision on that after the outpour of people just criticizing that decision. So I haven't heard anything yet, but I'm definitely interested to see if they.
I know all this drama around the Olympics makes me sad because I really love the Summer Olympics, and I certainly hope Miss Richardson, what's her name? Sha Carri. I think that people forget we have a pause in the Olympics, so in 3 years she'll be able to compete again.
And they have world games next year.
She'll be in the World Championships next year, and we've seen a lot of these runners, including who's now the fastest woman alive out in Jamaica. We've seen many of them have very, very long careers.
Yes.
So we have, I think, a couple of people who are in their 30s have had kids. So we certainly don't expect this to be the last we see of her. We hope that she can prove to be an Olympian in the next 3 years. But I think, we see other Olympians, especially in track and field, and they are as flamboyant, if you will, or as themselves. And so I certainly don't think this alone is a racial issue, other than asking the bigger question of where does, marijuana perhaps lie.
I agree.
The other one is a little more racist. Let's be honest.
No question.
But I certainly hope, I still plan on enjoying the Olympics. It's one of my favorite parts of the summer every 4 years.
For sure. So another curveball that may have come as a surprise to some are these Trump indictments. So Trump organization has recently gotten indictments in New York, as well as his CFO. And I just want to be clear that these indictments are not against Trump himself, but more so, or clearly, against his organization.
For now. They're still criminal
investigations. Exactly. And they're hoping that the CFO that they've indicted will kind of be on their side and bring Trump in. However, he'll have to kind of prove that Trump was aware of these legalities that he breached and still decided to move forward. So what did he do? What did they get him on? What did they hook him on?
Well, the charges are, what I think a lot of people forget. I tell people this all the time, like, who will really get in your business is the IRS.
Hello.
Okay. They like their money. They don't like it when you play little games with their money. So the Trump organization was using kind of fringe benefits to compensate, to add bonuses, to increase the value of those compensation packages with a lot of their high power employees. So no, you still make $100,000 a year, but we're giving you this penthouse suite.
Exactly.
And that penthouse suite may be worth
something astronomical.
So it was a way, one, it's a skip out on taxes all the way around, right? Like they normally would have somebody paying for it. They would have to pay taxes on their revenue. They would, if you compensate someone in a certain way, you're supposed to, anything over $100, you're not supposed to give your employees anything over $100. So if you give them a $500,000 place to live, as opposed to it obviously is tax consequences that are the magnitude of it for over 10, 20 years. Some of these employees have been working for the Trump organization. So there's no way to me that he did not know about it or he didn't sign off on it. And we have
directly benefit from it.
And we have his, he must have done something really bad. The CFO's daughter, a former daughter-in-law, has been talking. She's been talking a lot. She's got a lot to say.
All it takes is one.
She's meeting with them often. She got details on the packages,
like,
how they were compensating people. She is spilling the tea, baby. And so they are probably, oh God, like, we should have known that one was a problem. Like, dang, you shouldn't have stepped her on that divorce, buddy. She's over there telling all her secrets because the kind of the code in those organizations is that you're not going to tell because you didn't benefit, and you telling on them is also saying I didn't pay taxes on something.
Exactly.
They put you in a position where you don't want to share. But we've also seen that kind of the modus operandi of the Trump organization is like before you even get to it, we gonna sue you. We see that he recently sued Google and Facebook. So he is a litigator, and he has usually had the pocket to outspend people, but it's hard to outspend the government.
They got time and resources, baby.
Today.
And so I just want to highlight the main issue is not that they receive these fringe benefits, but that they kind of skipped out on accounting for them in their taxes. And so they're like, well, this is frivolous, and if we skipped out on it, it was on the records, and so that goes to show we weren't doing anything wrong or anything illegal. Well, guess what? The books are open now, and trust me and you, they are definitely going to dig through them in much detail to figure it out. The one thing that I did read that was interesting in the article is apparently the Trump organization is made up of all these other small businesses that trickle down, but up to Trump. And so the issue is which particular business are they going to sue? And the pattern with Trump has been that if you sue one of his businesses, he most times just closes it. And it's like, oh, well, that business no longer exists. So gotcha. So the government, the state the attorney of Manhattan, I think, is one of the leads on this. And he has to kind of be strategic in how he's going to go about this. I do believe that this is the first case where a local kind of jurisdiction attorney is suing a former president. So
yeah, this is going to be a first for many reasons. And I think we just have to stay tuned to see how it will fall out. But certainly I think there will be some pleas going on because it's one thing to have loyalty, but what we've seen from the Trump group is that once they understand their loyalty's not
I gotta go to jail.
Mutual. They
you gonna be free?
They stop liking it. They stop liking it. They stop liking him. They start writing books. So
they're like, hold on. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, no one wants that outcome, and it when it comes to an idea like, yes, I'm loyal, and then it's like, let me test you, and then it's like, I don't know. I forget. Well, I think I remember now. I remember that conversation. In fact, here's the recording that I made.
Let me show y'all real quick. Look at this text right here.
I forgot. He did it, not me. I think we'll see it, and I think what they're trying to do is shake the tree and see what someone has to say. But it's certainly a lesson. Trump bragged at one point about not paying on his taxes. Only silly people, stupid people don't pay for their taxes. Little people don't pay for their taxes.
Why would you say that?
And for a lot of his, people who support him and believe in him are like, yeah, my president's so Trump. He's so smart. He can just avoid this, or he's above this. But what we find out is that it just really depends on who's looking over your file. Some people flipping the pages, and we get the wrong person. They say, oh, let me read closer. That makes no sense. So, they're forensic scientists, accountants whose only job is to get in your business and match things up and see where A was and make sure it goes to Z. So we know that in the thousands of pages they took when they started going through people's homes, and wait till we see what comes out of Giuliani's house. 'Cause I think he's touched too. Like, whoa, baby, stop talking. So, we'll certainly see more, but we know that there are some careful eyes scouting through that information, looking for ways to hiccup. So I anticipate that some of these people are going to start being like,
yeah. And the fact that they're going so far back, they've been tracing this for so long. Let me tell you one thing: the government doesn't really pull the plug, especially when it's been a long investigation, until they know, gotcha. Yeah. And then they're like,
that's not right. Let me think about that. That's not right. You can't do that. So, yeah, we definitely will see. But we will keep you posted. And I will be drinking Caipirinhas while I watch what rolls out. We certainly wish good things. We have a lot of great Olympians coming from right here in H-Town.
Yes.
Sending Simone Biles out with our love. Watching her be the GOAT of the Olympic Games.
For real.
So we hope that you join us. Hopefully, maybe we'll have a little show about the Olympics and have some tea, some libations with the Olympics while we're a bum. Let's have some sake or something. Yes, I want it. So make sure to join us, but more importantly, like, share, subscribe,
please,
to us on YouTube, on Facebook. Check us out
on Instagram as well. And hey, if you want us to talk about a certain topic, please comment below. Let us know what that topic is, or if you would like us to try a cocktail. Let me tell you, we don't mind being your taste testers. So just drop that down there.
Generosity at its finest.
And we'll try it out and let you know if it's a yay or nay. But definitely like, share, subscribe. And until next time, I'll wait for Corey to pick up her cocktail. Cheers, guys.